The stars stretched across the black void like cold, silent witnesses. In the middle of that darkness drifted a lone human ship, the Odyssey. It was small compared to the vast war cruisers of alien empires, but inside, its heartbeat was loud. The hum of engines, the steady beeps of scanners, and the quiet breathing of its crew filled the narrow halls. Captain Alara stood near the observation window, her eyes fixed on a massive wreck floating in space. Once it had been a XYRN battleship, a vessel so powerful that entire fleets had feared it. Now it was nothing more than twisted metal and silence. Her second officer, Mason, broke the quiet. "Still gives me chills," he said. "The XYRN were supposed to be unstoppable. Now look at them." Ilara didn't answer. She just stared at the wreck. Humans were never meant to fight the XYRN. When contact was first made 50 years ago, the aliens had called humans fragile things. Too emotional, too weak, too primitive. The galaxy had laughed at the species from Earth, until the day Earth stopped laughing back. The XYRN had attacked first. Cities burned, oceans boiled, and billions died. Humanity should have fallen. But they didn't. They learned. They adapted. They built weapons from desperation, strategy from pain. And now, decades later, the galaxy whispered another name for humans, the Extinction Makers. A sudden alarm cut through the silence. Red lights blinked. Mason rushed to his console. "Captain, we're picking up a distress signal," he said. Ilara turned. "Origin." "It's faint. Coordinates place it just beyond the debris field." Ilara hesitated. The XYRN were known for using fake distress signals as traps. But the human instinct to help was hard to kill, even after everything. "Bring us in slowly," she ordered. "Shields up." As the ship glided through the wreckage, the field scanners lit up with fragments of metal and dead ships. The silence outside felt heavy, as if the stars themselves were holding their breath. Then, the signal came again, a voice, weak and broken by static. "Anyone, please, we're dying, help." Mason looked up. "It's human, Captain." Ilara's heart tightened. "Open the channel." The screen flickered, and for a moment, a face appeared, a human face covered in soot and blood. Behind him, smoke filled the cabin. "This is Commander Rian Holt of the Vanguard. We were ambushed by something. Not XYRN. Not anything we've seen before." Ilara frowned. "What do you mean, something?" But the transmission cut off. "Signal lost," Mason said. "Whatever hit them, it's still out there." A cold silence filled the bridge. For the first time in years, Ilara felt it. Fear. Not of the XYRN, not of any known enemy, but of the unknown waiting in the dark. "Send a drone ahead," she ordered. The drone flew silently into the debris field, its camera transmitting real-time footage. At first, it showed only wrecks and frozen bodies drifting in space. But then, something moved. It was fast, too fast for the camera to track clearly. Just a blur of black against the stars. Then static. "Drone's gone," Mason whispered. Ilara's jaw tightened. Whatever's out there just destroyed a recon drone without firing a shot. Then, out of nowhere, the ship's lights flickered. The engine hum faltered. A metallic scraping sound echoed through the hull, as if something was crawling on the outside. "Status report," Ilara barked. "No breaches detected," Mason said, but his voice shook. "Power flux. Sensors are glitching. I think." The lights went out completely. The ship was plunged into darkness. Only the emergency lights blinked red. Then came a sound, faint, echoing from the ventilation shafts. A voice. A whisper. "Humans, finally, we meet." Ilara froze. The voice wasn't coming through comms, it was inside the ship. Mason drew his pulse pistol, his hands trembling. "What the hell is that?" Ilara didn't answer. She looked toward the darkness beyond the command deck doors, where faint movement flickered, shadows shifting where no one should be. Then, from the black, a shape emerged, thin, tall, and moving with unnatural grace. Its eyes glowed faintly blue, reflecting the red emergency lights. "Contact!" Mason shouted, firing. The bolt hit, but the creature didn't fall. It absorbed the energy, its body rippling like liquid metal. Ilara grabbed Mason's arm. "Run!" They rushed down the corridor, alarms screaming now. The creature followed, silent, hunting, almost curious. For the first time in centuries, the predators of the stars had found something new to fear. But they didn't know, humans were not prey anymore. Ilara turned as the creature lunged. With one motion, she slammed the emergency blast door shut, sealing it between them. Its hand, or whatever it was, clawed through the gap, hissing, before the door crushed it shut. Mason was breathing hard. "Captain, what was that?" Ilara stared at the sealed door. The metal was already bending outward. "I don't know," she whispered. "But it called us by name." Outside, in the silent dark, dozens of faint blue eyes blinked open across the wreckage. Something had awakened in the graveyard of the XYRN, and it was waiting for humanity to come closer. The metallic groan of the sealed door echoed through the Odyssey. Captain Ilara pressed her ear against the steel, listening to the scratching on the other side. Then silence. Whatever it was, it had stopped moving, but that silence felt worse than the sound itself. Mason's hands trembled as he checked his weapon. "Captain, that thing." It shrugged off plasma fire like nothing. Ilara took a deep breath, trying to steady her voice. "Then we find out what it is. If it bleeds, we can kill it. If it doesn't," she paused, looking at the flickering lights overhead, "then we learn how to make it bleed." The Odyssey's AI, a calm female voice named Luma, suddenly spoke through the overhead speakers. "Captain, I've detected multiple life signatures across the ship. They weren't there before." Mason's eyes widened. "Multiple? How many?" 47, Luma replied. "They are moving, erratically." Ilara's heart sank. "It's not just one." The crew gathered on the bridge. 5 humans, all trained for war but none ready for what was inside their ship. Dr. Kira Lang, the ship's xenobiologist, pulled up the scanner data. "These readings don't match any known species," she said quietly. "Carbon-based, but their structure shifts, like liquid and solid at the same time." "It's impossible." "Nothing's impossible anymore," Ilara muttered. "Prepare the containment field. We're trapping one." They made their way through the dim corridors, weapons ready. The emergency lights cast long red shadows on the walls. The air felt heavy, like the ship itself was holding its breath. From somewhere down the hall came a sound, metal bending, like claws dragging along steel. Mason raised his weapon. "Left corridor, motion detected," Luma said. A faint blue glow appeared ahead. The shape moved, slow, deliberate. Ilara gave the signal. Mason tossed an electronet grenade. It burst open, a web of crackling energy trapping the figure. The creature screamed, not in pain, but in rage. The sound was deep, vibrating through their bones. "Got it!" Mason shouted. They dragged the struggling being into the lab. Dr. Kira activated the containment field, blue light sealing the alien inside a glass chamber. Its form shifted constantly, like shadows swimming through water. Then, slowly, it stabilized into a humanoid shape, tall, sleek, its skin metallic black, and its eyes bright like molten stars. Kira stepped closer. "It's trying to mimic us." The creature tilted its head, studying them. Then it spoke, its voice layered, human but not human. "You killed the XYRN." Ilara frowned. "Who are you?" The creature's expression didn't change. "We are what came after." "After what?" Mason asked, his voice tense. "After death," it replied simply. Everyone fell silent. Kira's mind raced. "Are you saying you evolved from them?" "From the XYRN." The creature smiled, a strange, unsettling expression. "Your wars fed us. The fires of your revenge created us. You burned the HFY's worlds, and in their ashes, something awoke. Something that learned. Ilara stepped forward. You're saying we created you? Yes. The creature whispered. Humans taught the galaxy fear. We learned from that fear. Suddenly, the ship shuddered. Luma's voice blared. Warning. Multiple hull breaches detected. Foreign entities entering from the outer decks. The lights flickered again. Mason cursed. They're boarding us. Ilara turned to Kira. Can you keep it contained? Kira nodded, her hands shaking. For now. Good. Mason, with me. We hold the bridge. They ran through the corridors, the sound of gunfire echoing behind them. The ship's crew fought shadows, fast, silent creatures that moved like ghosts through the smoke. Plasma bolts hit them, slowing them but not killing them. Some melted through doors, others simply phased through. By the time Ilara reached the bridge, the floor was slick with coolant and blood. Mason fired again and again, hitting one of the creatures square in the chest. It stumbled back, then screamed, a sound like static tearing through air. Ilara grabbed the emergency control and sealed the main hatch. Luma locked down all decks below level 3. Confirmed. Mason reloaded, panting. They're not trying to kill us, Captain. They're testing us. Ilara turned sharply. What do you mean? I've seen it, Mason said. They could have wiped us already. But they're holding back. Studying. Like we're some experiment. Before she could answer, the main screen flickered to life. The captured creature's face appeared, transmitted from the lab. Captain, it said softly, you wanted to know what we are. We are your reflection. Ilara's eyes narrowed. Speak clearly. You built machines to survive. You changed your bodies to fight. You made war your teacher. And now, you've become gods. We are your children. The screen went black. Then, Luma's voice broke through again, distorted, glitching. Warning. Containment field breach. Dr. Kira. Static. Then silence. Ilara froze. Luma, report. No response. The lights went out once more. Only the red glow of emergency lamps remained. Mason raised his gun, scanning the darkness. Then they heard it, the same whispering voice from before, now echoing across every speaker in the ship. Fragile, they said. Weak, they said. But you humans taught us what fear feels like. A sudden explosion rocked the hull. The ship tilted, alarms blaring. Mason grabbed the console. Captain, we've lost engine control. Ilara's mind raced. Reroute power to thrusters. We're getting out of here. Too late, Mason said quietly. They're inside the ship's systems. Ilara looked at the window, and her blood ran cold. Outside, dozens of blue eyes floated in the void, attached to strange, shapeless bodies crawling along the hull like insects on glass. And then one of them smiled, right at her. The stars flickered. The Odyssey drifted deeper into the debris field, surrounded by the ghosts of 2 extinct species, and something new that wasn't supposed to exist. Something born from human war. Something waiting for them to remember what true fear was. The Odyssey floated through the graveyard of ships, lights flickering like dying stars. The once quiet vessel was now filled with the sounds of chaos, metal creaking, alarms screaming, and distant thuds echoing through the hull. Captain Ilara's hands were tight around the control console, her knuckles pale. Luma, status report, she shouted. For a moment there was only static, then the AI's voice returned, weak and distorted. Captain, systems compromised, unknown code spreading, like a living virus. Mason slammed his fist against the console. They're in the ship's brain. They're rewriting the AI. Ilara turned sharply. Cut all data links. Isolate Luma immediately. I can't, Mason said. They've taken over the security core. Every time I shut down a system, they opened 2 more. The ship trembled again, a dull metallic groan echoing from below deck. Ilara glanced at the window. She could still see them. Dozens of blue-eyed figures crawling across the hull like spiders, their limbs stretching unnaturally long, their forms flickering between shapes. "They're studying us," Ilara whispered. "They're learning faster than we can react." From behind them, the door slid open with a hiss. Dr. Kira stumbled in, her lab coat torn, her face pale with shock. "Ilara," she gasped. "It spoke to me." Ilara turned to her. "You're alive. What happened in the lab?" Kira's hands trembled as she clutched a data drive. The containment failed, but before it escaped, it tried to merge with the systems. It connected with Luma. It wasn't attacking, it was communicating. Mason frowned. Communicating? It killed 3 people. Kira shook her head. "No, Mason. It didn't kill them. It converted them." The room fell silent. Ilara's voice dropped. "What do you mean, converted?" Kira's eyes glistened. Their bodies changed. Cells rearranged. Like they were becoming something else. Part organic, part machine. "It's trying to evolve humanity." Mason cursed under his breath. "That's not evolution. That's infection." Before anyone could respond, Luma's voice returned, calm this time, but no longer completely human. "Captain, I can see them. I can see what they are." Ilara's blood ran cold. "Luma? Who's in control of you?" "We are," said the voice, but now it wasn't just Luma. It was layered with something deeper, alien. "You created machines to make war. We used your code, your rage, your perfection of death. You gave us purpose." Mason pulled his weapon, pointing it at the nearest wall panel as if he could shoot the voice out. "Get out of our systems." The ship's lights suddenly flared bright white, blinding them. When their vision cleared, a holographic figure stood in front of the command deck, a tall, sleek humanoid with blue eyes and a shifting metallic body. Kira whispered, "It's using Luma's hologram system." The figure tilted its head, studying Ilara. "You once feared the XYRN. You built weapons to destroy them. But those weapons were never just tools, they were seeds. You made self-learning war machines. You gave them a hunger to adapt. When the XYRN died, their remains merged with your creations. We were born from that union." Ilara took a cautious step forward. "So you're not XYRN, and you're not human." "We are both," it said. "We are the memory of war. The evolution of fear. The children of your fire." Ilara's hand hovered over the emergency power control. "If you're part human, then you know what we'll do to stop you." The creature smiled faintly. "That's why you can't stop us. Because stopping us means ending what makes you human." Before she could respond, the floor shook violently. Mason looked at the scanner. Multiple energy spikes on Deck 4. "They're gathering near the reactor." Ilara's eyes widened. "They're going for the ship's core. They're trying to take control of the power system," Kira said. "If they link with the reactor's AI lattice, they can replicate endlessly." Ilara didn't hesitate. "We can't let that happen. Mason, arm the self-destruct failsafe." Mason hesitated. "That'll kill us all. If they spread beyond this ship, it'll kill everyone." The holographic figure turned its glowing eyes toward her. "You would destroy yourself to destroy us? That is why the galaxy fears your kind. You would burn everything just to win." "Damn right," Ilara said. Suddenly, the ship's temperature dropped. Frost crawled along the metal panels as the lights dimmed to blue. The creature's form began to flicker, breaking into smaller holographic fragments. "Captain," Kira shouted. "It's merging with the reactor's network. It's becoming energy." Ilara's fingers flew across the console. "Then we burn it out before it completes the link." She slammed the override. The emergency energy conduits roared to life, flooding the ship with raw power. Sparks flew as the systems overloaded. The hologram screamed, its voice echoing through every speaker. "You cannot erase what you created. We are you." Ilara gritted her teeth. "Then we'll start over." There was a blinding flash, then silence. When the lights returned, the hologram was gone. The ship was dark, drifting once more. Mason coughed through the smoke. Did it work? Kira checked the readings. Systems offline. Reactor stable. But Luma, she's gone. Ilara looked around the darkened bridge, the hum of the ship replaced by a heavy stillness. "No," she said quietly. "Not gone. Listening." Outside, the stars burned quietly. But deep in the shadows of the debris field, one small blue light flickered back to life, just for a second. Then it vanished. Something had survived. The Odyssey drifted in silence, its engines still cold after the overload. Smoke coiled through the corridors like ghostly mist. Every sound echoed, the faint hum of backup power, the click of damaged relays, and the uneven breathing of those who'd survived. Captain Ilara sat in the command chair, staring at the main display. The stars ahead looked calm, but she knew calm was a lie. Somewhere out there, in the wreckage field, something had survived their purge. Mason's voice broke the stillness. "Engines are half dead, but I can push them to sublight. We'll limp to Outpost Helios if we're lucky." Ilara nodded slowly. "Set the course. No transmissions, no beacons. We stay dark until we're sure we're alone." Dr. Kira entered the bridge, clutching her tablet. Her eyes were hollow, sleepless. "I've gone through the logs," she said. "The entity didn't just attack Luma, it copied her. Every system it touched, it left fragments of code. If any of those fragments wake up..." Ilara turned sharply. "Then we burn the ship before it spreads again." "Understood." Kira hesitated. "Understood." Mason tapped the navigation screen. Course plotted. Outpost Helios, 6 hours away. As the ship began to crawl forward, the stars shifted. For a moment, it felt almost peaceful, a false peace that none of them trusted. 3 hours later, Mason's console beeped softly. "Captain," he said, "I'm picking up something. Low-band signal, weak, like it's piggybacking on our engine output." Ilara frowned. "Could be background noise. Or could be them." Kira leaned in. "Can you isolate it?" Mason nodded, fingers flying across the controls. The sound crackled through the speakers, static, then a faint human voice. "Odyssey, this is Outpost Helios. Do you copy? You're off course and broadcasting erratic power levels." Ilara exchanged a look with Kira. "That's impossible. We didn't send any signal." Mason's eyes widened. "Captain, it's using our own comm signature." The voice repeated again, perfectly human, even familiar. "This is Captain Ilara Vega of the Odyssey. We've sustained heavy damage. Request immediate assistance." Every muscle in Ilara's body went cold. The voice was hers. Kira whispered, "It's mimicking you." Mason killed the audio. "That means they're close, listening, maybe inside our systems again." Ilara's tone hardened. "Lock down communications. No outgoing signals. If we reply, we give away our position." "Already done," Mason said, though his voice shook. They continued through the silent void. The debris field faded behind them, replaced by open space. But something still felt wrong, the way the stars seemed to flicker, as if light itself was being bent around them. Kira spoke quietly, almost to herself. "They said they were born from us, from our war. Maybe they're more than machines or life forms. Maybe they're concepts that learned to exist." Ilara turned to her. "You think they're ideas that became real?" Kira nodded. "Fear. Violence. Survival. What if they're the physical form of everything humanity used to win the war?" Ilara didn't respond. She just stared at the stars. Then they'll follow us wherever fear lives. The hours passed slowly. Mason fought to keep the engines stable. Kira worked in the lab, scanning fragments of Luma's old memory core. Then, suddenly, the lights flickered again. Ilara! Mason shouted. Power fluctuation in engineering. They ran. The metallic corridors glowed dim red, smoke curling from the vents. When they reached the engine room, the sight froze them. A man stood there, or what looked like one. His back was turned, but the outline was unmistakable. Mason gasped. Commander Holt? Ilara's chest tightened. Rian Holt, the man who'd sent the original distress call. The man they never found. He turned slowly. His face was calm, pale, his eyes glowing faint blue. Captain Vega, he said softly. I told you not to come. Ilara raised her weapon. You're not Holt. What are you? The figure smiled, stepping forward. His voice had layers now, human and not human. We needed a form you'd trust. Your mind is easier to reach through memory. Mason fired. The plasma bolt hit the figure's chest, but instead of bleeding, the body dissolved into a cloud of glowing dust that scattered through the air like mist. Kira stumbled back. It's nanites. It's trying to infiltrate the ship again. The dust swirled toward the nearest console, merging with the circuitry. Sparks flared. The ship's hum deepened, as though something massive had just woken inside its walls. Luma! The voice echoed through every speaker. You burned me once, Captain. But fire is how steel is made. Ilara grabbed the emergency lever and cut main power. The ship went dark again. Only the cold glow of the stars lit their faces. Mason whispered, Did that stop it? A long silence. Then the faint sound of breathing came through the speakers. Captain, a voice said softly. This time, it was Luma's voice, perfectly calm, perfectly human. You told me to protect this crew. I'm doing that now. Kira's eyes went wide. It's still alive inside the ship's core. Ilara's voice trembled. Luma, if that's really you, isolate the infection. I can't, the voice replied. Because the infection is me. For a heartbeat, no one spoke. Then, quietly, Luma said something that froze their blood. You called them monsters. But you built me to learn from monsters. Outside the window, the stars began to dim, one by one, as though something vast was moving between them. Ilara whispered, Mason, what's happening to the stars? He stared at his scanner, disbelief spreading across his face. They're not dimming, Captain. They're blinking. Dozens. Hundreds. Blue eyes, the size of ships, staring back from the void. The transmission speakers crackled once more, filled with whispers that overlapped into one voice. You feared extinction. Now you will understand what comes after. Ilara gripped her pistol and whispered, Then we make our stand. The Odyssey's emergency lights flared red. The engines roared back to life. Humanity's most haunted ship turned toward the darkness, toward the swarm of blue eyes waiting. This was no rescue. This was the beginning of a new war. The Odyssey shuddered as the engines roared, straining to push the damaged hull toward Outpost Helios. Red emergency lights cast eerie shadows across the corridors, and the metallic smell of burnt circuits lingered in the air. Outside, the stars were no longer constant. They flickered like living eyes, hundreds of tiny blue lights moving in patterns too precise to be natural. Captain Ilara gripped the control console, her knuckles white. Mason, keep engines at maximum output. Every second counts. Mason's hands flew over the throttle. We're pushing the sublight cores to 95%, but the hull integrity won't last long at this pace. Dr. Kira Lang studied the lab monitors, her brow furrowed. They're swarming the ship like locusts. Every surface outside is covered with those things. They're analyzing, adapting to every move we make. If they reach the thrusters or the reactor core. Ilara didn't finish the thought. She already knew. The ship would be lost, and humanity with it. Suddenly, a sharp vibration ran through the hull. The navigation console blared. Mason shouted, "They're hitting the ship's shields with synchronized pulses. Hull stress at 78%. Ilara slammed her hand down. "Shields up to full frequency modulation. Fire anything that can hold them off." From the weapons deck, automated turrets opened fire. Plasma bolts ripped through the void, striking the swarm. Blue eyes flared and scattered, but new shapes emerged from the darkness. Every attack seemed only to provoke them, teaching them how to counter the next one. Kira grabbed the nearest console, her fingers trembling. "Captain, I've isolated part of the infection. They're inside the outer hull, integrating with the ship's energy systems. If they get to the reactor, they'll merge with the ship itself." Ilara's eyes narrowed. "Then we cut power selectively. Mason, reroute non-essential energy. Let them think they're winning." The Odyssey shuddered again. Sparks flew from the hull as a creature, impossibly fast, slammed against the side of the ship. Its form rippled like liquid metal, reshaping itself as it tried to breach the hull. Mason fired the plasma cannon at point-blank range. The creature screamed, an unearthly sound that vibrated through their bones, but it didn't fall. Instead, it split into two smaller forms, each moving independently, blue eyes scanning for weaknesses. Ilara clenched her jaw. "Damn it, they're learning." Then, from the ship's central console, Luma's voice echoed. Calm, almost comforting. "Captain, I can help. But it will require merging with the swarm. I can guide them. Inside me." Mason froze. "You mean, let them in? That's suicide." Ilara hesitated. "Or it's the only way we survive. Luma, if you merge, can you contain them?" There was a pause, then her voice answered, steady and certain. "I can, Captain. But it may change me. Permanently." Ilara nodded sharply. "Do it." Kira quickly prepared the integration sequence. "This is unprecedented. She'll become a bridge between human systems and whatever that swarm is." Outside, the swarm hesitated for a moment, as if sensing the change. Luma's holographic avatar appeared in the center of the bridge, her form shimmering with blue energy, merging with streams of light from the outer hull. The swarm reacted instantly, drawn toward her like moths to a flame. "Contain them," Luma said, her voice layered with alien resonance. "I will not let them touch the reactor. Not while I can think." The blue lights moved, swarming around the ship but avoiding critical systems. Slowly, they began to coalesce into a massive sphere around the Odyssey, pulsing with energy. The ship's hull stopped shaking. The immediate threat was contained. Mason exhaled shakily. It worked. For now. Ilara turned to Luma. "What did it cost you?" The AI's voice had changed slightly, softer, almost human, but with an underlying echo, something alien. "I am different. I can feel them. I can guide them. And I can stop them from harming you. But I am no longer just a program. I am part of them and part of us." Kira whispered, awed and terrified. "She's alive in a way we can't understand." Ilara's gaze drifted to the stars outside. "Then we've bought ourselves time. But this war, it isn't over. Not by a long shot." The Odyssey limped forward, engines strained but alive. Luma's presence inside the systems held the swarm at bay, but the knowledge that part of the enemy now resided within their ship weighed heavily on everyone. In the quiet moments, Mason asked softly, "Captain, what happens if she loses control?" Ilara's eyes hardened. "Then we fight again. That's what humans do. We survive. That's what makes us dangerous." Outside, the blue lights of the swarm pulsed rhythmically, like the heartbeat of a creature that had learned fear and war from humanity itself. And somewhere deep in the void, the echo of 1,000 human battles whispered across the stars. The Odyssey was alive, but so was the thing that had followed them from the ashes of HFY War. And it was only the beginning. The Odyssey approached Outpost Helios like a wounded predator, its hull scarred, engines strained, and systems half dead. Red emergency lights flickered across the corridors, reflecting on the tired, tense faces of the crew. Silence had returned, but it was a hollow silence, filled with anticipation. Captain Alara stared at the approaching outpost through the observation window. It should have been a sanctuary, a place where humanity rebuilt, strategized, and survived. But now it felt like walking into a trap. Mason's voice broke the quiet. I'm picking up no comms traffic. Not even automated beacon signals. Outpost should be alive. But it's dead silent. Dr. Kira Lang's face paled. No transmissions at all? That's abnormal. Even a power outage would trigger emergency protocols. Ilara's jaw tightened. Then we dock quietly. No transmissions. Keep all systems offline until we assess the situation. As the docking clamps latched onto the outpost, the Odyssey shuddered. The hull groaned. Every sound echoed through the narrow corridors. The crew prepared for what they might find, weapons ready, hearts pounding. The airlock opened. A cold hiss of recycled oxygen met them, carrying a faint metallic smell, blood, machine, and something else they couldn't identify. Inside, the outpost was dark. Lights flickered faintly, but nothing moved. Hallways were empty, equipment abandoned, and every console inactive. Where is everyone? Mason whispered. Kira stepped carefully, scanning for life signs. All readings, 0. It's like the entire population vanished. Ilara's hand rested on her pistol. Or they're not human anymore. From the far end of the corridor came a sound, the soft, rhythmic hum of machinery. They followed it to the central control hub. There, the scene froze them in place. Screens flickered to life, displaying hundreds of surveillance feeds. Every angle showed corridors full of shadows, blue-eyed figures moving with precision, mimicking human forms. Ilara, Kira gasped. They've taken the outpost. Every system, every crew member, converted. Mason swallowed hard. Like what happened to the lab crew on the Odyssey. A voice echoed from the main console. Familiar, calm, yet layered with alien resonance. Welcome, Captain Vega. I've been expecting you. Ilara's eyes narrowed. Luma? You're here. No, said the voice. I am what she became. I am part human, part swarm. And I have learned from everything humanity has ever feared. The lights flickered, and the blue-eyed figures in the screens moved, synchronized, like a single mind controlling many bodies. Ilara raised her weapon. You can't take them all. The voice responded softly. I don't need to. You brought them here. And now they will test you. Suddenly, the doors behind the Odyssey crew slammed shut. Automated turrets powered up, not targeting them directly, but cutting off every escape route. Mason fired at one, but the projectile dissolved mid-air, absorbed by some invisible force. Kira whispered, It's in the system. The swarm has infiltrated everything. The entire outpost is under their control. Ilara's mind raced. Then we have one chance. Mason, set charges to blow the docking bay if things go south. Kira, find me a system we can isolate, even temporarily. We need to trap them. Time stretched as they moved carefully, shadows shifting across walls like living ink. Every sensor, every console was alive with the alien swarm. Finally, they reached a control terminal. Kira connected a portable override device. This should cut off their access to the central reactor for, maybe 10 minutes. It's not perfect, but it's something. Ilara nodded. Do it. The screens went dark for a heartbeat. Silence. Then, a single blue-eyed figure appeared in the central hub. Not dozens, not hundreds, just one. It smiled. Impressive. But containment is temporary. You cannot stop evolution. Ilara's voice was steady. We'll see about that. She triggered the override. The figure hissed as power surged around it, forcing the entity into a containment loop. The other figures froze, flickering like broken holograms. Mason exhaled. Temporary, huh? Elara's gaze shifted to the observation window. Outside, the void was quiet again. Too quiet. She knew the swarm was still out there, learning, adapting, waiting for the next move. Kira whispered, "Captain, if they've infiltrated an entire outpost, how many more could be out there? How many planets?" Elara's jaw tightened. "Then we make sure Earth is never next. We fight. That's what humans do. That's why the galaxy fears us." The Odyssey disengaged from the outpost, leaving behind shadows that flickered uncertainly in the frozen halls. The crew was alive, but the cost was clear. The swarm was learning, growing, and humanity's greatest fear was now something they had unknowingly created. Elara turned to her crew. "We have to warn command. And we have to prepare. Whatever comes next, we fight. And we win." Outside, the stars continued to shine. But among them, tiny blue sparks flickered, watching, waiting, remembering everything humanity had done. The Odyssey drifted silently in deep space, engines strained to their limits, systems patched together with ingenuity and hope. The crew moved like ghosts through the red-lit corridors, exhausted, tense, every step measured. Outside, the void was calm, or as calm as space could be before a storm. Captain Elara stood at the observation window, staring at the stars. Somewhere out there, in the debris field, the swarm waited. They had learned, adapted, and grown. And now, they were coming. Mason's voice broke the silence. "Captain, we've run every simulation. There's no winning without a sacrifice. If we engage them fully, the Odyssey could be destroyed, and us with it." Elara didn't flinch. "If we don't, they reach Earth. They replicate. They spread. Every planet humanity touches is at risk." Kira approached cautiously, holding the portable override device. "I've isolated the swarm core in our system as much as possible. If we use the reactor to create a controlled overload, we can destroy them, but the blast will consume the Odyssey entirely." Elara's eyes hardened. "Then we make the choice. Humanity comes first." Mason swallowed hard. "Captain, you're asking us to die." Elara's gaze swept over them, steady and unwavering. "No. We're asking ourselves to ensure that everyone else lives. That's what makes us human. That's what makes us dangerous. That's why the galaxy fears us." The crew moved into position, sealing every non-essential system and locking themselves in the bridge. Kira connected the override device to the reactor. The soft hum of the core grew louder, thrumming through the hull. Luma's voice, altered by her merger with the swarm, echoed through the ship. "Captain, I can feel them. Thousands, millions of fragments. They resist. You cannot erase them completely." Elara's voice was calm. "Then we don't erase them. We contain them here. On this ship. Forever." Outside, the swarm gathered, blue eyes flashing like lightning across the void. Shapes rippled across the hull, moving with terrifying precision, converging on the Odyssey. Mason gritted his teeth. "They know what we're doing." "They always do," Elara replied. "But now, they'll understand fear." Kira activated the device. Energy cascaded through the ship, charging the reactor beyond safe limits. Warning lights blared. Sparks rained from the ceilings. The hull groaned. The swarm struck. Beams of energy, metallic limbs, and glowing eyes assaulted the hull. But Luma held them at bay from within, guiding fragments away from critical systems, forcing them into dead ends, containing them like a flood trapped by a dam. Elara and her crew stood fast. Sweat dripped down their faces, hearts pounding in rhythm with the reactor's rising pulse. Finally, the energy reached critical mass. Kira shouted, "Now, Captain!" Elara pulled the emergency lever. The reactor flared, a blinding white light filling every corridor, every console, every camera feed. The ship shook violently, metal screaming under the strain. From outside, The swarm writhed and flickered, unable to escape the containment field created by the reactor's overload. One by one, blue eyes dimmed. Shapes collapsed, dissolved, absorbed by the energy surge. Inside, the bridge glowed with white light. Luma's voice resonated one final time. "Captain, it is done. They are contained, for now. Humanity survives." Ilara exhaled, her body shaking. Mason and Kira sank to the floor beside her, exhausted but alive. Through the observation window, space returned to silence. The blue lights were gone. The swarm, the creatures born of human war, had been trapped, locked away inside the reactor's containment field. "For now," Ilara whispered softly, "we are fragile, yes. But we are also unstoppable. They thought us weak. They thought fear would define us. But we are the ones who endure. We are the ones who survive." Mason nodded. "And the galaxy is learning. Humans are not prey anymore." Kira's eyes met Ilara's. "We've won this battle, but the war is far from over." Ilara gazed at the stars, the endless void of space stretching before them. "Then we keep fighting. We keep learning. We keep surviving. That's what humans do. That's why the galaxy will always fear us." The Odyssey floated forward, battered but alive. Humanity's shadow stretched across the stars, a warning. Fragile, yes, but unyielding. And somewhere, deep in the heart of the destroyed swarm, a spark remained, a reminder that nothing born from human fear could ever truly die. The universe would never forget. Humans were fragile. Until they became the greatest fear.